Senators return to Capitol Hill today as the latest partial government shutdown deadline quickly approaches.
The U.S. is less than 1 week away from running out of funding for several agencies. In January, Washington extended funding for some departments and programs through Friday. Others will run out of cash March 8th. President Biden is meeting with congressional leaders tomorrow at the White House. And the House returns from its recess the following day. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane in Washington. Scott, always so good to see you and have you break this down for us. The question is, can tomorrow's meeting between the president and congressional leaders actually avert a shutdown?
It's going to have to, because the deadline is pressing. March 1st, this Friday, 1/4 of the federal government shuts down if there's no deal. Then the next Friday, March 8th, the other 3/4, including the Pentagon, suffer shutdowns. But here's the thing, and there's really no way around this, Nancy. For the past half year, these efforts to avoid government shutdowns have been like a rickety train on some rickety tracks, and they partially derailed again this past weekend. It's clear the talks had an impasse because both the Democratic leader of the Senate and the Republican leader of the House issued statements saying they're having some troubles, and they blame the other side for those troubles. But there are such real-world impacts to just coming close to these deadlines. This has happened 4 times now since September 30th. Families who get their paychecks from the government, think military service members, federal workers, have to worry about going without paychecks for some time and have to plan for that. There are disruptions in federal programs, things like WIC, Women, Infants, and Children Nutritional Support, SNAP, the supplemental nutritional assistance for those who need federal help to afford their food, not to mention the hiring of air traffic controllers, the use of agriculture programs to feed farms. I mean, these are big things, all of which are now in a precarious state with a deadline, again, just 4 days away.
Yeah, Scott, I always appreciate how you give us a glimpse of the wide array of folks something like this would be, they'd be affected by it. And the president and lawmakers are also expected to discuss funding for Ukraine. Where does this effort currently stand?
That might get folded right in to the conversations about keeping the government open. You know, the White House had said there was a deadline of December 2023 to get Ukraine needed money to help them with the war against Russia. Well, we are well past December 2023, and there are any number of House Republicans who may try to circumvent their leadership and force a vote on the floor to get Ukraine tens of billions of dollars. They believe, as do Democrats, as do most of us here watching Congress operate, that there are sufficient votes, more than sufficient votes, to approve new money for Ukraine. It's just a matter of getting it on the floor. And they come back to this dispute we've been talking about for weeks. Republicans in the U.S. House and their leadership want new border security provisions here in the U.S. before they unlock money for Ukraine. And Democrats could scream it from the rafters over the past few weeks. We tried that. We almost had a deal, but Republicans blocked it. Republicans have responded saying we need a better, more stringent border security plan. That's all going to be folded in to this week's negotiations to keep the government open.
And that's not all they will be discussing. Senators will also have to address the impeachment articles against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Walk us through what they are expected to do there.
Well, that is headed the Senate's way. It's just a matter of when. The U.S. House, by a 1-vote margin, approved these impeachment articles against the Homeland Security Secretary, alleging he was failing to enforce border law and breach the public's trust. Democrats have called it a sham, saying that this is a policy dispute you've turned into an impeachment exercise. Well, the House does have to present their articles to the Senate. There's truly a process and a procedure and a parading of the articles from side to side. We just don't know yet when.
We know you will be watching it all, though. For Scott MacFarlane, thank you very much.